Hey, you guys, good morning. Welcome to Friday. We are at day 5 of week 3 of the month long Cash Injection Through Connection live workshop series. Today, we're going to talk about how all of those connections with your audience that we've been talking about this entire week, how to turn all of that into cash, right? So if you're here and you're joining me, say hi. Let me know that you're watching. I'm kind of really in a mellow mood this morning. It's rainy, it's overcast, and it's just cozy outside. It's like these, crazy storms we've been having here. And it's just really put me in a mellow mode. So I'm a little mellow this morning. But anyway, let me dig into the topic. Again, if you're here and you're joining me and you're watching me live, say hi. Let me know that you're joining me live. If you're watching the replay, let me know hashtag replay. And yeah, let me know that you're here with me. So today we're going to talk about, like I said, how to turn those connections with your audience into cash, because that's the big question, right? That's the $1 million question. We're doing all the things, we're building all the relationships, we're doing all the connection pieces that we've been talking about this entire month. So now it's like, what does that result in, right? How do we turn that into cash? So now that you really know how to connect with your audience, like you really understand what that looks like, because we talked about that earlier this week, and you know how to position yourself as the solution, like the thing that they need and they want, and you've got some tangible ways to actually go out there and start building that connection with your people. You've got to now take that next step with them, right? You've got to lead them to that next step, because after all, you are in business, right? And we are in business to make money. If you're a business owner and you're working with clients, you are in business to make money. So, one thing I do want to say before I go into this and go more into today's topic is that every single thing that you do in your marketing and your business should be done with integrity. Like that goes without saying. It should be done with integrity, especially if you're using my connection based marketing model, business model, right? And the framework that goes along with that. So everything has to be done with integrity. So when I say turn connection into cash, right? I want you to know that it's not about going into this with the sole intent to get a sale, right? That is not the winning mindset, you guys. In fact, that is the mindset, and that's the thing that makes people come off as pushy and salesy. And that's the whole reason why so many people resist sales, because they don't want to be pushy and they don't want to be salesy. It's because their mindset is like, if I'm building these connections and I'm talking to people, then I have to, so just know that the sole intent of doing this is not to just get a sale. That is not the winning mindset. But going into it with that sort of, going into any sort of connection building, I should say, with your audience for the pure and genuine intention and reason to build that relationship and develop a deeper connection with your people, that is what you have. That is the thing that results in translates in results for you, right? So going into it, so you want to develop that connection, trusting the process, and really showing up with integrity and consistency. You guys, it almost always leads to you generating some level of income, like always, hands down, right? So, I mean, I can list so many examples. I've had a client who actually just this week spoke to me about just signing on her next 5K sale from a new client that she connected with 3 months ago. She connected with this person such a long time ago, and now it resulted in the sale, right? And the things that I've shared with you over this entire month has landed me clients time and time and time again. Sometimes it happens like instantaneously or immediately after someone sees something that I've posted or sees a video or read one of my emails, and they just book in a call, and it lands in a client almost sometimes just one time or two times after seeing my stuff or having that connection with me. Sometimes it could take a year. I mean, in fact, I've had a client that came to me 2 years after meeting me at a speaking event that I did. And it was, one of those situations where at the time she wasn't ready, but she held on to my information. She held on to all the stuff that I presented at that speaking information. And when she was ready to invest in a coach, she called me 2 years later. I will never forget that phone call. And I remember her because I remember her sweater, and but she remembered that connection that we established at that speaking event. And she knew that when the time came that she was ready to invest in her business and hire a coach, that I would have been the one that she wanted to hire. And so that is magical, and that is golden, and that is the power of connection. So it doesn't always have to take 2 years, and it doesn't always have to, take forever. Like I said, it can happen much faster than that. In fact, it does happen a lot faster than that. But the point I want to make here is you want to stay open. And when done right, creating a connection almost always leads to cash in some way, shape, and form in your business. Whether that's a new client coming to you after, entering your funnel, or booking in a call with you, or seeing you on social media, whether that's a partnership or a collaboration you do with someone else, and then somebody from doing that partnership sees you and becomes a client, whether that's exposure from like PR and guest blogging and guest speaking and podcasts, or even like referrals, right? So when you take the time to connect and you do all the things that we've been talking about this entire month through this entire workshop series, it almost always leads to cash in some way, shape, and form, right? So question of the day: how do you turn those connections into cash? So you have to have some way, you guys, of deepening that relationship and bringing people into your pipeline, right? So you've got to have a way to go from that connection building piece and deepening that relationship with your people by offering them a reason. Like, you have to give them a solid reason for them to want to stay connected with you and invest in you, right? So, and here is the key. Here's the key that I want to stress. You have to ask for the sale. Okay. So, it's not just about making the connection and hoping and just being friends and being nice and having all the niceties and doing all the things that we talked about. But as a business owner, you have to ask for the sale. You've got to present your offer, right? One of the easiest ways to get more sales is to ask for more sales, right? So that's sort of like the key that a lot of people miss, is that they don't want to be pushy, they don't want to be salesy, or one extreme to the other. And so they never ask for the sale, or they jump into the connection and ask for the sale right away. That turns people off and it doesn't result in a sale, right? So just know that, when you're doing it right, it always leads to cash. And when you do it with integrity and you do it in the way that I'm going to share some of the things with you today, it almost always leads to a sale in some way, shape, or form, right? So for my clients, right, and my clients are primarily coaches. So if you're watching this and you're a coach, let me know in the comments. But my clients are primarily coaches and other business owners who provide a service. If you're in that category, one of these things that I'm going to mention may apply to you as well, right? So a couple of ways that moving your audience from the connection with your audience into cash can look like booking in a free call, right? And I'm gonna go into each one of these with you in a sec, but it could be booking it and getting them to get on the phone with you, somehow getting them into a sales call or a sales conversation with you, right? The second one could be taking them through your funnel, your lead magnet, your opt-in, your, whatever you want to call it, right? And then nurturing them through like your email sequence, right? The third way is inviting them into a free coaching, a free group or a free community, right? Inviting them into there and going deeper on the relationships once they're in there. And another way you can do it is if you're doing in-person events or any sort of live thing, you could present something at the end of your presentation, present an offer at the end of your presentation, at the end of your workshop, that gets them into that funnel with you, right? So those are four of like the big ways that you can move those connection with your audience into cash. Of course, we're not going to dig into like the PR part of it, because that comes with a few more steps, and I don't want to overwhelm or confuse you today. So I'm just going to stick to the 4 key main ways that, as coaches or people who provide services for their business, for their clients, these are sort of like the 4 typical common ways to do it, right? So let me talk a little bit about each of those, because I do think it might be helpful for you to get like tangible examples of that. So the first one is obviously booking in a free call, whether that's a discovery call, a strategy call, a consultation call, whatever, a complimentary free call, right? So when you have people on a free call with you, there's a difference. And, this is something I also want to point out real quick, is that there is a difference between a coffee chat or a connection call or one of those getting to know you type calls and a sales call. The structure is very different. And there's also a big difference between a free coaching call versus a discovery call or a strategy session, right? Or a consultation call. Those are 2 very different things. So if you don't know the difference between that, let me know and I'll be happy to explain that. But a free coaching call or a free coaching session, which I know a lot of coaches promote, is very different than a sales call or a discovery call or a strategy session or a consultation call, right? So just know that ahead of time. So when you are getting people into a sales call, and I'm going to refer to it as a sales call because the intention here is to turn that connection into cash, right? There are 3 very specific stages of that call that you need to be using connection building strategies with, right? So when I work with my private clients, we go into this in depth because each business, each person's strengths, it's different, right? So, and you want to really be able to show up in your flow and feel authentic as you move through that process. Because if you're just following somebody else's template or somebody else's formula, or script, I hate scripts on sales calls, that could definitely throw things off for you as you show up on that call. So, there's 3 very specific stages that you really, really want to be using those connection building strategies in any of your sales calls, right? And last week, what I did was I mentioned last week that the connection has to start before the sales call. I mentioned that, and I know I harp on this a lot because so many people skip this step. The connection has to start before the sales call, and it has to carry throughout the call and then even after, right? So that is key. There are so many people who miss that. They either do the connection while they're on the call and then they don't do it after, or they do it, after and they're not doing it during as much, or they do it before and they're not doing it after. You have to have it weaved throughout. It has to happen before, during, and after. So just know that. And when you're actually on the call, there's 3 very specific stages, and there's 3 very specific stages of that call that you need to be using connection building strategies, right? So you've got to have that in place in order for those people who are, if you're using the free call or the sales call strategy to move your audience into your pipeline and to move them into becoming a client with you, those are the things that you need to know and you need to be doing in that. So, that's the first part. The second thing is if you're using a lead magnet or an opt-in, or you're having some sort of a launch event and you're hoping to move your people from that lead magnet, from that opt-in, from that launch event into a nurture sequence with you, into an email sequence with you, right? So most people actually do email sequences a little differently than I do. So when I work with my one-on-one clients, it becomes a very personalized process for me. Because we want to make sure that we're nailing the language, we're nailing the offer, and of course, we're nailing the sales piece, right? So all of that, we do all of that using those connection building strategies, because it's not just enough to, follow a template or to follow a formula that's out there, because there's a dime a dozen out there, right? But you've got to know, there's certain strategies and structures to it. But there's also certain pieces to your email sequence that you really want to make sure you're infusing with those connection building pieces, right? And if we were to just talk about an email list for like half a second here, there's so much you can be even doing with that to strengthen to strengthen the connection between you and your subscribers on your email list. You know, from segmenting your list to the frequency at which you're emailing them, to the content that you're emailing them, right? So, you know, obviously I can't get into all of those things today because we're only doing a really short live stream, but those are all areas that I want you to be paying attention to. If you know that you're bringing people into your funnel and you're nurturing them through emails, and your emails are not converting, or your email and people are not responsive to your emails, those are some things that we can definitely start to look at. So my email list converts beautifully between 0.7-ish to like 1%, which is awesome. And industry standard, which I kind of have some beef with that word as well. Industry standard is 1%, but if you're converting somewhere in your email, from your email list, then you know you're doing the things right. If your emails are still not converting and people are not opening your emails, or people are not converting into the sales with you, then we've got to look at where are the gaps in that email sequence. How can you be deepening your relationship with your people and your subscribers so that when they see your name pop up in their inbox, it's not like, ugh, delete, or ugh, unsubscribe. It's, I want to read what she's up to this week, right? Or he's up to this week. So you've really got to be, again, you've got to have that connection piece from start to finish in your email sequence as well. So another way, like I mentioned, is offering them or inviting them into a free group, into maybe your free Facebook group, or, you know, community that you might have. I know that there's some people that charge a minimal amount, and they have, you know, and part of that minimal amount per month, there's a free Facebook group that is associated with it. So you build that community that we talked about yesterday. So you can do that. And as the group leader, there are specific things that you need to be doing to implement those strategies, those connection building strategies, to help you monetize your group, right? So I'm going to give you an example of one of my clients who, she had a wildly engaged group. Like, her group was crushing it. Every time she posted, she had incredible engagement. She had a bunch of really loyal members in that group. And she had clearly established herself as someone that was providing very helpful information that her people would come to as a source of information, as a resource, right? Which was great, which is what we all want as a group owner, right? But she never really was able to monetize that group. And what happened was, you know, it started to drain her, because people were just taking from her, in the sense that she was providing all the information and everybody just wanted the free information. Everybody wanted to just pick her brain about all these things. And so when we looked at how she was showing up, right? Because so often, you know, in groups that are really engaged, your members become used to seeing you as the information or the value hub, right? Like, they see you as that person, like you, like Google, whatever, especially in her group, which was so high. Like, I mean, it was such a high engaged group that every time she pumped out something, it was like a resource. It was like a piece of content that they can go and they can like do something and take action on right away. It was like she was like a mini Google in there, right? Which is not a bad thing. You want to be seen as that expert, as that go-to. You know, I have some beef around that word as well, if you've been watching, but you want to be seen as that go-to person that's going to help them, give them the answers and give them the solutions to the thing that they're struggling with, right? And people get trained and become used to that. But you've got to also remember, if you are running a Facebook group, or if you are thinking of running a Facebook group, you've also got to remind the people inside of your group that you are in business, that you are a business owner, right? So your group is never, it's great that you're providing all this free value, but you've also, the whole purpose of a group is a part of your marketing strategy. And if anyone tells you otherwise, then you need to look at that, right? Because as a business owner, every piece of the puzzle needs to be generating some level of result for you. It doesn't always have to be financial, but it has to result, whether it's a lead source, whether it's a, anything has to be generating a result for you. And if you're utilizing Facebook groups, you've got to really be able to make it work for you, right? So when we were able to make some of the tweaks into my client that I was just referring to, her group, and kind of tweak the way she was showing up and tweak the way that she was connecting with the people from the moment they requested to join her group. Like from that touch point number one, that is your first touch point. We were able to change some of those things. And not only did she double her group growth, meaning there was even more people coming into her group, but her email list blew up. Right? And if you go back to the point I just made, once her email list blew up, we had the connection building pieces in her email sequence, which led them to the free call. And on the free call, she did the 3 very specific things and the connecting building throughout her sales call, which landed her to making sales on repeat. You guys, making sales on repeat, all from one group. Right? So, I mean, this is the stuff that gets me so tickled, pickled, and excited, because it's amazing to see how all those moving pieces, when we connect those puzzle pieces using just those same connection building strategies, how it always results and converts for people, right? When done right. So the fourth thing is, in person, like I mentioned, those in-person events. So just like we're doing a live stream as we're doing right now, to demonstrate your knowledge, your expertise, your passions, things that that the topics that want your audience needs to know. Just like you're doing that on a live stream, right? You're doing it to connect with your audience. You're doing it to demonstrate your expertise, all the blah, blah, blahs, right? You've got to also be asking for the sale, right? It is the same thing for a live and in-person event. In fact, I will say it requires even more work for a live or in-person event, but it's the same concept. You are connecting with your people and you are giving them amazing value, and therefore you have the right to ask for the sale. Why not get paid for it, right? Especially if you're doing it in person, because in person typically requires more effort. If you're putting together a presentation or a workshop, you've got to get dressed, get to the place, connect with the audience. You've got to do before setup, after setup, do your presentation, rehearse your presentation. There's a lot more that goes into it, but it is very much it's very, very worthwhile. So why not get paid for it, right? When you can actually fill a room with your ideal clients, and you can get them all in one place, and you can deliver a high value, high quality content and information to them for 60 minutes plus, you have earned the right to sell, right? So if you're over there and you're connecting with your people and you're doing all the good stuff, you have earned the right to sell. So you have got to learn, and if you don't already do this, how to move that audience that is now really warm because they've sat in a room with you for an hour plus. They've, learned they've consumed the information you've provided. You've built the connection with them. You're doing all the things. You are now sitting in a room of very warm people. So you've earned the right to sell to them. You have got to now move those people into some sort of a paid offer or some sort of an opportunity. Again, like I said at the beginning, you have to give them a reason to want to go that extra step with you, to take that relationship and that connection deeper, and to invest with you, right? So now there are all sorts of different strategies out there when it comes to selling from the stage, which obviously I don't have nearly enough time to go into today. But what I want you to know is that it's the same process offline as it is online, right? It's the same process online as it is offline. And again, it's that human to human connection factor, right? It is that human to human connection factor. You have got to be able to move people from your funnel into your paid or free call, or your paid or your free offer, or whatever the thing is for you, and move people through that pipeline, because that's the whole point of marketing, right, guys? So, one of the things that I can say about speaking, and I haven't done the exact research, so I don't have the exact number, so please don't quote me on this, but what I have found is that you convert a lot faster in person than you do online. So, while there's all these benefits to being online, don't neglect the power of that human to human in-person connection, because when done right, you can really, really convert that on a much faster than you can taking people through a funnel and doing all that stuff. So, more on that in another live stream. I don't want to get off too much on a tangent here, but just know that it's the same process. It's the marketing process of moving people from your connection to cash, right? Moving people from consuming your content, warming up your audience, nurturing your audience, providing high quality value for your audience, really connecting with them in an authentic way. And then moving that audience, moving that connection that you've built into a deeper relationship and then into cash, right? So whatever the case may be for you, whether it is, in a free group, whether it's in person, whether it's on a discovery call, whether it's, through your funnel, whatever the case may be, you've got to have strategies in place to do that, the connection building strategies in place to do that. Because when you do, and I have been saying this like a broken record this entire time, right? When you have that stuff in place, you know that people want to buy from people. People feel that connection to you. And when you connect, you convert, right? So whether it's on social media, you've got to figure out how to move people from social media into that pipeline, into having a conversation with you. And the bottom line is you've got to have a call to action. You've got to have a strong call to action and a strong reason for them to want to do that, for them to want to join your free group, want to opt in for your thing, want to hop on the phone with you, right? You've got to have a strong reason for that. And what I know to be true, you guys, as with any strategy, it works when you work it. As with any strategy, whether you are, doing things organically, whether you're paying for ads, whether you are hiring something, whatever, if you're doing posting, if you're doing speaking, if you're doing videos, whatever, any strategy, anything in life or business, it works when you work it, right? And I know that to be true. So those were my 5 things that I wanted to share with you today. If you guys are struggling with any of that, if you know you are sending emails and your email list is not converting, if you know you're struggling to either get people on the phone with you, or when they are on the phone with you, convert those people, and you know that that's an area that you need improving on, feel free. Right now, my 6-month coaching private coaching package is now back open. I've got spots open again for that. And I'm going to put the link to booking a call with me in the comments in case you would like to figure out what it would look like for us to work together. If these are some of the things that you are struggling with, if you're not converting and making the kind of sales that you would want to make, I'd be happy to chat with you to see what's going on in your business. And then we can kind of take a deeper look into how we can use connection in your business to increase your sales and your conversions. So again, I have spots now back open in my private coaching program, and I'm going to put the link for that inside the comments. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be back next week with the final week of the Cash Injection Through Connection workshop series. Thank you all for those of you who have joined me. If you are watching the replay, again, just leave any questions or any comments for me inside of the comments, and I will come back and I will answer them all. Take care and have a great day. Bye.